The Old Witch of KHADOR and Scrapjack, KHADOR Warcaster, and character like Warjack.
She is the shadow of winter, the claw of the night, a bloody lament, and dead king's plight. KHADORic folk rhyme, early 2nd century AR.
KHADOR's primal forests stretch across lands soaked in memory and blood, and the stories of peasants holds true from time immemorial. Such tales speak of a wizened hag, primeval and terrible. She has advised chieftains, kings, and princes, and influenced the decisions that have shaped KHADOR for millennia. Though all too often folk tales and superstitions are dismissed, peasants of the Cardic Sea of Old Umbre know the old witch has watched them for countless generations. Though her origins are long lost, tales of the old witch still circulate by firesides across KHADOR. The oldest stories are retellings of Mulgur legends describing a hunched and crinkled creature of shadow, a thing of slaughter that drank deep the blood of the fallen and feasted upon the flesh of men. Tales from the time of Cardovic describe an ugly old woman of untold power, counseling the priest king and his council. Sometimes this advice cost those who took it their lives, but always it served to advance the priest king's cause. The old witch appeared in hundreds of later stories, demonstrating her subtle guidance of the northern peoples of Western Immoran, leaving a trail of lore that covers nearly 3,000 years. She appears in folk tales from Hell's Pass to the Cardic Sea, always giving and taking capriciously. Cossite myths describe her saving entire villages from starvation in exchange for the clan leader's first male child. Cardic tales speak of foolish men crossing her and vanishing without a trace. Only their skins were ever found, strung up along crossroads as a warning with her mark etched into them. Some of the oldest Skirovite folk tales speak of the time when Menoth himself walked the world and found the old witch in her cave, waiting for him. She is known by many names, but the most common is Zavana Agra, the old witch of KHADOR. Few tales describe her in detail, but most agree that she appears to be a decrepit, hunchback woman of extremely advanced years, supported by a walking staff and bearing a writhing sack on her twisted shoulders. Her finger ends in sharp metal talons. It was not until after the formation of the Iron Kingdoms that legends first mention of her companion, a primitive steam jack cobbled together by her own crinkled hands. Built at the infancy of Warjack development from parts of wrecks left on various battlefields, the Scrapjack is a mechanical beast of burden that serves the witch faithfully. It bears an old arcane relay salvaged from the ruins of the First Thornwood War. Her occult powers are primal and ancient in nature, but the old witch has had no trouble adapting to the mechanica of the modern warfare era. She commands Warjack with the same arcane prowess that draws crows from the forest to serve her, and the iron teeth of the earth to gnash at her enemies. Though her deeds have often served to protect the KHADORian people, no scholar doubts the old witch walks Immoran for her own purposes. According to legend, she counseled the Cardic warlords to seek conquests, promising them aid from ancient in the source of their blood, and that their enemies would, quote, die with breath still on their lips, unquote. Though to this day the majority of KHADORian sages attribute the great plague that swept the Cossite and Skirav peoples of Cardovic's spirit, few scholars point to the old witch herself. She appears frequently in the tales of the Cardic Wars of Expansion, offering advice, reading omens, and apparently working enchantments not drawn from the power of prayer 1,500 years before the development of the gift. Yet she has also appeared in legends of the Umbrians, Skirav, and Cossites, supporting one chieftain or horse lord over another. The exact extent of which she has manipulated the various northern peoples is a contested mystery. One legend states that Shinad Skerovo himself declared the first emperor of Kard at her behest, and that she has appeared to every major KHADORian monarch since then. The tale claims she hammered the gold and iron from the weapons of slain chieftains into the first crown of KHADOR and adorned it with red jewels, powerful enchantments, and human blood. Proof exists that she openly opposed the Orgoth in Kardok lands, killing them whenever she found them and washing her talons in their blood to deny power to their dark and mysterious gods. Rancankerous, vicious, and cruel as she may be, but she has aided in the Kardonic resistance against the Orgoth, guiding KHADOR and its people towards some vision of greatness known only to her eyes. The recent published journals of Exarth Voltrov Dravedestiv's lifelong confidant of King Ivad Vanar describe the witch's continuing influence. Mere days after Avad assumed the throne, an ugly old woman came uninvited to him in his garden. The new king and the witch spoke at great length. When pressed, King Ivad would reveal only that he had been in the presence of something ancient, and that the safety of the motherland would be ensured for generations to come. No one knows the full extent of Ivad's bargain, but secret orders were passed down to his generals, ensuring that their cooperation to the witch. Though men have witnessed the old witch crossing the vast expanse of KHADOR for centuries, she has been seen increasingly often in the modern era, often accompanied by soldiers and warjacks. By the command of the Empress herself, Zivana Agra has the right to requisition men and materials when and where she requires them, with no real explanation or accountability needed. It is an uncomfortable agreement to those involved, as no one can claim to know what's on the crone's mind at any time. That the old witch has powerful allies amongst the KHADORian military and aristocracy is an understatement. The Grey Lord covenants bow to her superior skill, heeds her advice without fail, and provides her with their arcane abilities whenever she requires them. She now frequently leads KHADORian troops into battle to slaughter her enemies with the same wicked zeal she displays in even the oldest of legends. The 3rd Border Legion has come to be her favorite source of troops, and the officers of that legion have been ordered by the High Command to heed her enigmatic demands. The men and women of the Winter Guard speak of her in hushed voices, knowing that she could appear at any time, and beckon them to accompany her with a gesture of her wicked claws. Those chosen to follow her find themselves fighting vicious battles in remote places for very obscure reasons, sometimes against unfamiliar and unfathomable horrors. Although the old witch is opposed to every group that would stand in the way of KHADOR's destiny, she seems to have a special hatred for the blackclads of the Circle Ouroboros. She has struck down some of their strongest leaders and seized lands they thought to be in their dominion, but were which she counted as part of the motherland. She has long since meddled in the lives of the KHADORian noble bloodlines, and the Zapesh's blood lineage is in particularly drawn her attention. For centuries, her careful ministrations have guided their wars, their lives, marriages, and children, culminating in their current heir, Prince Vladimir Zapeshis. He is the last of his line, and a heavy doom was laid upon him at birth. The old witch waited until he was nearly sacrificed his life in a valiant battle against the Cricks to reveal his destiny to him, and has since watched and smiled as fate tightened its grasp around him. It seems impossible that such a cruel and cunning creature could care for a mortal, making it all the more likely that she sees him no more as a weapon of singular portents. Far more active now than at any time since the Orgoth occupation, the old witch has moved beyond the shadows of history to directly intervene in the affairs of the motherland. The world knows the truth by which generations of KHADORian peasants have lived. The motherland has a spirit, a face, and a form, a wicked crone